What if I told you that there is a chilling melody that waits to be heard in the darkness on the coldest, darkest December evenings when everyone is gathered around the fire? Can you listen to it with courage? Even though you would never want to hear a story like this over the Christmas season, you can't help but wonder if beneath the sparkling lights and laughter of the season, something similar is waiting for you. The spot that has been forgotten yet is constantly present in the winter shadows is the subject of tonight's story. This small community, which appears to have been taken from a fairy tale or perhaps a nightmare, experiences an odd event every Christmas. A weird choir began to sing at the precise moment when the moon rose in the sky and the cold began to seep into your bones. No one understood where it was coming from, but everyone sensed it in their bones. Something was wrong. The eerie melody of a choir of voices singing Christmas carols chilled your soul. This choir was made up of the ghosts of people who had died on Christmas in years past. They were victims of tragedies that had been forgotten by time. No one knew who they were or what had caused their tragic end. They were just heard singing beautiful songs. It wasn't a group of kids or old people, but something much more unsettling, spirits that wandered among the living spirits of those who for some reason hadn't found rest during Christmases long past. Each note seemed to vibrate through the walls of the village houses, revealing tales of sorrow, suffering, and betrayal. Whenever someone attempted to track down the music's origin, they were met with nothing but a more eerie silence and a deeper cold. Everyone knew that disappearances happened more frequently around Christmas, but no one dared to talk about it openly. It was said that the choir's voices called them, and that the spirits enticed them into the dark woods where the ice-covered trees concealed the secrets of the lost souls. There, in that cursed forest, the lost souls joined the choir and were sentenced to sing the same tragic song forever. However, nobody knew the real story behind these spirits. It was said that each of those ghosts had a story to tell, a tragedy that defined their previous lives. Something so terrible that they could not rest in peace, as though they were puppets of a cruel fate. The spirits were forced to relive their final moments and were sentenced to sing about their deaths and the secrets buried with them for all eternity. There was Mary, a mother who killed herself because she was so sad after losing her son in a Christmas accident. Or Edward, a young guy who died in a fire in the old church while trying to save his younger sister. They were all part of this chorus of mob people. The town's residents, bound together by the sorrow and suffering that had affected their lives, felt a frightening weight pressing down on their hearts as the choir's carols echoed through the village on Christmas evenings. Some of them tried to figure out the riddle of these ghosts when they were younger, but as they ventured more into the forest, the voices grew louder and more urgent, as if to warn them to turn around. Others, like the elderly William, always exercised the same prudence. Never follow the melody. Avoid following the echo at any cost. Although no one truly understood what he meant, there was something in his eyes that made people shudder. One fateful Christmas, a family from the city arrived into the countryside, unaware of the weird rumors that surrounding them. No one had told them about the choir, and they thought it would be the perfect setting for a fresh start, away from the bustle and routine of the city. For the first few days of the Westons' stay in the house, everything appeared to be as usual. The children were playing in the snow, and the Christmas tree was adorned with beautiful lights, despite the villagers' assumption that the Westons, like all newcomers, would not stay long. But when night fell, an odd noise began to echo through the gaps in the windows. They initially believed it to be the wind, but as it became louder, they began to recognize the sounds of Christmas carols, which seemed like a far-off echo. The first carol they heard was a familiar Christmas song, a touch sentimental but pleasant, and they didn't think it strange at all. However, something changed when the music began to change, as though it were experiencing a wind or water storm. The soprano's voice turned into an unsettling whisper as the harmonies grew darker. The children in their innocence peeked out the window trying to find the source of the music, but all they saw was the dark forest surrounding the village. No one was swaying the branches of the trees, yet the choir continued to sing, growing louder. That same night, the youngest Weston child, Lily, disappeared. No one saw her leave, but her coat was found on the doorstep, as if she had wandered out in a trance following the voices. The Westons, terrified, began to search the village for their daughter, asking everyone if they had seen her. No one had any answers. However, those who dared venture into the forest claimed to have heard Lily's voice joined by other whispers and songs, and so the Weston family found themselves trapped in a nightmare that would change their lives forever. The story of the Westons is just one among many that have been lost to time. No one knows if Lily was the last to join the choir of Christmas specters, where if she herself became one of the voices still singing from the darkness, trapped in her own tragedy. What is certain is that from that Christmas on, the choir's song has never ceased to echo through the village every time someone dares to approach the forest. Whispers can be heard in the distance like a warning. If you ever hear their melodies, heed this advice. Do not follow the song, and above all, do not approach the forest, because if you do, you might be the next to join the choir and never return. The next story. Ever pondered what may occur if a sinister secret was concealed by the enchantment of Christmas? Imagine a society in which children's laughing turns into cries of agony, and the joyous atmosphere is replaced by faceless horror. This story will examine the real-life origins of the Grinch, the well-known antagonist of Christmas. However, what if I told you that his animosity toward the holidays is only a front for a much darker scheme? According to the mythology, the Grinch utilizes gifts as part of a mob rite intended to trap the souls of the people who live in Huel, rather than merely stealing them. Every present he accepts turns into a vessel, a sinister receptacle that holds the owner's tormented soul. The Grinch's lair is a terrifying location, tucked up among snow-capped mountains. There is no joy in the thousands of gifts that are stacked to the rafters and anxiously await opening. In actuality, every box with gleaming ribbons is a jail for wayward souls. The Grinch's final rite is accompanied by a frightening symphony of their sorrows echoing in the chilly darkness. His collection gets bigger and more potent as Christmas draws near. The Grinch looks forward to the night every year when he can carry out his grand scheme to turn Whoville into a place of never-ending horror. As December 24th approaches, Christmas, which was once a time of joy and love, will turn into an everlasting festival of horror. The Grinch creeps cautiously through the snow-covered streets of Hill, feeling the black energy building up around him with each step. His shadowy and hunched figure is reflected by the full moon, which also illuminates his way. Every time he steals a gift, he feels a mixture of satisfaction and desperation, because he knows that at the end of the day, what he really wants is to feel what they feel, which is love, joy, and hope. As he approaches the largest and most decorated house in town, the mayor's home, a twisted idea blossoms in his mind. The laughter and festive music echo in the distance, but he cannot bear those sounds because they are only reminders of the pain he has endured over the years. And the hatred he feels toward them is not just for their happiness, but because he has been robbed of it. This year will be different because instead of stealing gifts, he will kidnap the mayor's soul. Once he has that soul, he will have the authority to carry out the last rite and unleash terror on Willie. The Grinch pauses in front of the door, which is festooned with lights and a wreath. His heart skips a beat as he looks through the window. Warm embraces and laughter were exchanged by families gathered around a decorated tree. A twinge of jealousy stabbed through his chest. He will never feel that human warmth with a quick, silent motion. He enters the house after opening the door. The smell of cinnamon and freshly made cookies fills the air. Though he has a purpose, he feels like an outsider in this kind and bright environment. Each gift he accepts will be a step closer to his ultimate objective. Among the ornamented trees and presents stacked beneath them, he maneuvers with agility. He starts packing whatever he can carry into his backpack with shaky but determined hands. Shiny toys, brand new garments, and mouth-watering candies. But as he pilfers each one, an odd thing starts to happen. A shadowy figure appears to be following him from the corners of the room, and whispers that are hardly audible fill the chilly air. "Give them back," say voices in a far-off echo. "You can't have them." For a brief moment, the Grinch feels fear creep into his heart, which has been hardened by years of loneliness and hatred. But he quickly gets over it, since he cannot afford to disbelieve it now. With every stolen gift, he senses how the trapped souls inside start to awaken. The Grinch tries to ignore them because, after all, they are just lost souls trapped in their shiny prisons. But as he keeps stealing more things, their cries become louder and more insistent. At one point, one of the gifts starts to glow intensely before opening by itself, and a spectral figure emerges from within the tormented spirit of a girl named Lucy who tragically lost her life during a Christmas celebration years ago. Her gaze is filled with sadness and desperation as she looks at the Grinch with teary eyes. "Why are you doing this?" Lucy asks in a steady but shaky voice. Each one represents love and hope to another. Her comments strike a deep chord with the Grinch. He experiences regret for the first time, but his need for ritual is too great, and he must carry out his plan despite the tragic cries of trapped souls inside stolen gifts. His own vanity gradually disappears as he adds more items to his gloomy sack. Under the mayor's tree, he finally finds the final present, the biggest and most dazzling of them. He lifts it, his heart pounding. He knows it has the power to finish his collection and carry out the last rite, but Lucy reappears before he can take it away. "You will be lost forever if you follow through on this," she adds firmly, yet tenderly. As the Grinch holds that final gift in his shaking hands, her words ring in his mind like faraway bells. For the first time, he genuinely questions what he is doing. Long-forgotten memories start to come back to him, including the warmth of family he had experienced before allowing himself to be overcome by resentment and contempt for other people, as well as the laughter he shared with friends during previous festivities. He starts to struggle with himself. Should he release these imprisoned spirits, or should he carry out his mafia scheme? The struggle between darkness and light intensifies as he recalls what Christmas truly meant, with tears welling up in his emerald green eyes. Dulled by so much accumulated pain, he finally decides to drop the gift onto the ground before turning to flee into the surrounding darkness, leaving behind not only stolen gifts but also part of an overwhelming weight he carried for so long. As he runs towards the mountain where his dark cave lies empty, now feels an odd mixture between relief and uncertainty. Although he's freed some trapped souls there, remains much work ahead to repair damage caused over all those years. Thus concludes this story about how even those steeped in shadows can find light if they are willing to confront their deepest fears, leaving behind old destructive habits, seeking instead to build new connections based on love, compassion, hope. If you enjoyed this story about the dark side behind the Grinch, don't forget to leave your comment on what you thought and subscribe for more chilling tales like this. Because here there's always room to explore hidden mysteries behind everyday life. See you soon, friends, followers. We'll meet again on our next terrifying adventure.